hey, ChatGPT, you suck. What the hell, man? And it was like, my bad. Welcome back to Past Your Prime, the podcast for active adults and athletes balancing real life training and rehab. I'm Alex Keicher, pro volleyball player, working dad, and a guy whose wrist got completely destroyed by a cable exercise that ChatGPT confidently swore was totally safe. Joined as always by my co-host, physical therapist, and strength coach, Craig Smith. Today we're getting into a bit of a controversial topic, but may or may not be dividing the fitness world. I don't think it's actually doing that, but that's fine. Is AI about to make personal trainers and physical therapists obsolete? Or is it going to get a bunch of active adults severely injured? I tend to think most of the latter, but that's just me.
You think so?
Yeah. I know a lot of PTs probably hate hearing this, but I ended up putting it to the test myself over about the last month. Just over a month ago, I jammed my wrist playing volleyball. And so my fancy new phone comes with a lot of built-in AI features, and I tried to have it build me like a wrist injury gym plan.
Oh, I love it.
And then at the same time, I figured let me track my nutrition in there as well. And for the latter half of that, it's been mostly incredible tracking macros, protein, and things like that, and helping me kind of adapt on the fly and give me suggestions. And that was until it completely backfired on the first one. So I had been kind of laying off of my wrist at the AI's direction. And I had a standard cable workout that I had been doing prior to re-injuring my wrist. And it told me to go back to that workout, essentially. Like, go back to your cable workout. I followed it, and massive flare-up. And that was...
in the moment.
Like, little bit of pain during it, which I'm kind of used to experiencing during that workout, but woke up the next morning, like, full-on flare-up. A lot of the old symptoms I was experiencing. And then it kind of pulled me back a little bit, because then I went back and I was like, hey, ChatGPT, you suck. What the hell, man? And it was like, my bad. Go put your brace on.
Is that what it said?
It kind of, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we've got a weird little relationship going on. But then it told me to put my brace on. I don't know how it knew that I had a brace, but it said, go use your brace. And I put it back on, and just for an afternoon, and it actually got quite a bit better from that, which I don't know if you would have suggested or if I would have even thought of on my own, because it's doing all the thinking for me and I'm becoming a lot dumber. That said, it did pretty quickly get rid of my pain and at least have me slightly back on track. It's either been a week or a week and a half since that little flare-up thing, and you checked it out this morning, and it seems to be in a better spot than I would have anticipated you would say. But now, living both sides of this, I thought it'd be kind of a cool topic of discussion. And now, you knowing that an AI algorithm nearly destroyed my wrist, does that make you feel good that it kept me from calling you as I normally do with all of my injuries?
I think it's fascinating.
Or does it annoy you?
No, it doesn't annoy me at all. I just think it's another input. When I was going through PT school, one of our professors had brought up the idea that we have to be more prepared because people are going to be Googling their symptoms and already have a bunch of information. And so if you're not ready, they're going to expose something that you wouldn't understand or you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And that was so inaccurate from people coming in, and they would have a whole bunch of stuff, but the majority of time it was so wrong that it was never an issue. What I've found with some of the AI stuff is people will have these conversations, or they'll even take and record things that I'll say, and then they'll have the conversation and they'll put it back through AI.
Wow.
which I don't care either. Like that's totally fine. Which is so it's pretty interesting to see how people are using the AI. I mean, I actually think it's pretty cool. I think that there's obviously huge issues that we run across, and I've absolutely had. I would say that's been the more common thing recently has been people, if they're because once again, my opinion is people are going to have injuries. Like I think people are going to have. We are built to be susceptible to injuries. There's certain things in our bodies that are just liable to have an issue develop. And if you use an AI program and then you just normal variation, you have an injury from it, you're going to blame the AI, even though it's totally normal within the well range of normal. So yeah, I see a ton of people who come in who say that it was a program or something from an AI that then led to an issue. So it's actually very, very common.
Well, like, I was just using one of the standard AIs out there. There's also further like full-on apps that are, AI workout apps specifically, and maybe those are better, or maybe those are worse. But it's still just interesting that there are so many different tools out there, and the variation between those tools can make a lot of difference.
I think it's going to be really fun to see. I think that there's, because they are influenced by the person that's using them, right? So you have that aspect of it. And I just got an email literally this morning from ChatGPT introducing this new health chat where you can basically put your medical records in. You can have all your wearable devices to dump into it. So I'm actually pretty interested with where it's going to end up going. I mean, worst case scenario, if it gets to the point where it's fully replacing the whole healthcare field, I think we're in a utopia or a dystopian hell. So hopefully it's utopia.
Well, in mine, pretty much anytime I ask it anything loosely medical related, will give me the big disclaimer, like, this is not medical advice. I am AI. Like, oh, hey, AI. Like,
I could be hallucinating. And have you seen those video clips of the lawyers just getting shamed by like the judge because they write a brief and it hallucinated a reference?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I've experienced it in my work life where laws have been referenced that are not. They're just not at all.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's a side topic I don't really want to talk about. But
we don't even go into that, but that is amazing. Yeah, so that's actually been a pretty interesting. It's been actually super fun. I like it. But I definitely have some pretty. We were talking about it before we started recording today. I think there's some parts that we can go through that I think will, because when I hear somebody say that they did it, there's typically different failure points. I think you can use AI to actually be very effective. For example, if I have an image, if I ever have a report that comes in for myself, I would absolutely run it through AI. Like it is extremely useful because
like a radiology report or 100%. Blood test report.
You totally
or something
should,
like that.
Yeah, because I think it'll explain it well. I mean, you don't want to expose any personal health information, in my opinion, on an AI. But you can, if you don't understand what medical terms mean, it can break it down, give you references, and it can do a really good job from like a radiology report. And I have clients that come in that do that, and I think it's super useful for them, extremely useful. And it also gives them, what I've noticed so far is it doesn't make it scary. It almost takes out the scariness of the language, and I think it can be pretty empowering. I think that's like one of the good signs that I think that are going to happen from AI.
Nice.
For sure.
We left this kind of a little bit more open-ended today. So what do you want to start with?
Well, I think the first one is I want to separate the idea of these AI engines or whatever, these AI tools from...
There's so many of them now, too.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
From the AI slop that is just covering all social media.
Just for clicks and views.
Yeah.
And may or may not be accurate at all.
I think that you have to be very careful in that situation. I mean, those are people's opinion. So what I've noticed is that they'll do it, okay, I think in a few different ways, but it's because it's now written well, people will put in garbage ideas, like just things that I don't think make sense, but then they'll have an AI tool basically rewrite it, make it more coherent, but it's still garbage. like it's still slop.
Right.
That seems to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we were referencing one earlier where, different social media groups are just being inundated. And I'm really just all social media has so much, quote unquote AI slop coming through it that it just gets frustrating, because I used to like when, there'd be an image come up and then like, it'd be like an unknown language for a part of it at the bottom. And like, oh, that was clearly AI. Like, you didn't make that.
And now it's not like that.
Yeah, and now it's gotten so much more advanced in a short time, where at least like you said, the language is coherent, but they're still telling you at 75 years old to do aggressive hip thrusts. Like, well,
I'm not sure if
I can't get out of bed, so
yes, that's what you're gonna do. You just spine snap. Like there we go. That's how you know it's working.
Yeah,
it's working. No, but I think that one's actually a really big issue. But I think that people are. I wonder if it's going to get to a point where we can't tell. But right now, if it looks to me at all as if it's AI, I don't really read it. The only social media place I did have any interaction, I don't really spend a ton of time on now, would have been LinkedIn. But even LinkedIn, like it's irritating to be on LinkedIn, because you go on there and then it's always an emoji followed by people are doing this thing wrong. There's always like this hook that's around people make this mistake, and I'm immediately like, I'm also not going to read this. This is very uninteresting, and you didn't write it. That's just text, and then you have all the photo ones. The video ones are unwatchable.
Some of the video ones are kind of funny, but yeah, I don't think I've seen any related to fitness or.
I did see one that's really funny. I said that.
All right.
The Chuck Norris one.
Okay.
You ever see the Chuck Norris ones?
No.
So there's the Chuck Norris ones where it's like, it's famous scenes, but then Chuck Norris comes in and just kicks the crap out of him. Like Neo in Matrix. Like he stops all the bullets, but then Chuck Norris walks in, face kicks him. And you're just like, hey, Chuck Norris would do that. They were all over when he passed away, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's things like that. Like that's 100%. Like if it's a Chuck Norris video, AI video, I'm down with that.
You're in.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm like all in. I'm all in for sure. But it is that I feel like is a separate problem, and I think that we're getting inundated with horrible advice. I wouldn't blame that on AI per se. I think that's influencer culture using AI, and it makes it so that they're more effective at giving us crappy advice.
Do you want to hear what I used it for? I know I kind of alluded to it in my intro, but obviously it was first like how to manage my wrist injury. And so places where I think it was helpful in terms of suggesting exercises, it said like a lot of wrist neutral positions, it had suggested the bracing, which I think was helpful. I've gotten some wrist wraps since then and try to use those. I've largely avoided doing upper body just because I also at one point was like, can you use some of my PYP info? And it was like, oh, it would like to create a therapeutic gap. I was like, yes, please help me create a therapeutic gap.
Where did it reference? Was it from like YouTube videos? Or?
Yeah, so I just said like pull everything from Smith Performance Center and from Pasture Prime, and also used research-backed literature. And so even with that, sometimes it'll come back with things that I don't think are real, that will be a bit more anecdotal, that are just on the interwebs somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so like I do think that verifying whatever you're getting out of AI for whatever you're using is definitely a critical portion here. Mm-hmm. But like I before this massive flare up, I was doing some wrist neutral things, and those tended not to flare it up. It seemed like with the cable workout that specifically flared me up, it was just the tension against my wrist. So like doing lateral raises with the cable, doing some of the tricep extensions that had some wrist motion. So I think it was that tension against the wrist that really ended up flaring it up. And AI doesn't feel pain. Just sorry to say, but as humans, we do feel pain. And so waking up that next morning being like, what just happened to me? Like, this is a workout that I had done probably 100 times over the last 9 months. And then for this specific instance, because of the re-injury, a couple of weeks before, just completely blew me up. And, the AI doesn't care about how you feel. It just pulls the information it has available and
goes from there. Yeah. Well, I think you kind of brought it up. So if we take out the AI slop, we were talking about this before. I think that there's 4 issues that you then run into because I also don't think that knowledge, there's so much knowledge out there. There's so many things that are already present that people have access to, that it's not just a knowledge issue. So I think that the way you tell it, it's like the garbage in. Like if you give it a garbage description of what's going on, it's not complete. You don't know how to describe it. That's one thing. The execution from the information it gives you don't execute it well. You don't verify that it's correct, verify that you're moving the right direction, and you don't realize that rehab, strength training, diet, those are all moving targets. They change over time. So something that was accurate when it gave you the information a week ago could have been accurate, but something that's changed. So I think those are the 4 areas I think we should dive into, because I think that those are the places where people will use an AI, but I don't think they understand. They probably do understand, but I think that's the 4 areas where the AI can become actually harmful towards you versus super helpful.
So was I giving it garbage, in your opinion?
Well, I think so part of your issue from the very start is it that your body won't heal, like you're healthy. It's a specifically difficult area to manage, but it's not because you can't heal, it's because of the activities you do. Like you have gigantic triggers, constant triggers. And so that workout probably would have been fine if there wasn't an interaction happening with other activities that you were doing.
Well, and I hadn't been playing volleyball.
Which is interesting too. Did you tell it that you...
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of interesting. My brain always goes to the nuance of stuff. For you specifically, your issue is always going to be more, your tolerance for hurting yourself is really, really high.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, I wonder if in the future there's going to be a point where there's an AI that models your decisions and it does like 1,000 simulations, and it's like 99% of the time he always does way too much. So why don't we give him 1/10 of what we just gave him? So
it turns into Doctor Strange, and it's yeah, you've only got one scenario where you don't blow yourself up here.
We're going to follow that scenario. Well, have you ever thought about with Google Maps?
I don't think about Google Maps
I think about it all the time.
at all.
Sarah and I have talked about this. Do you ever think about that it's just managing traffic? And so it'll basically be, if you put something in and it's like, well, we've given 1,000 people this direction, we're going to send 300 people this direction. Like it's managing where you go. Do you ever think about that?
That's why I use Waze. Waze always gets me there the fastest way possible while avoiding the accidents, essentially.
But it's the same thing. How much of that is it? It's managing what you do. Like that's so what I'm saying is it does a profile on you.
I have
now this is what it's going to do.
Not trusted Waze before and gotten stuck in traffic for several hours. And every time I trust Waze, I'll be like driving down I-10 and there's like 30 miles of cars stuck, and I'm just like on the frontage road as the only person.
That's hilarious. But you get what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah.
So like for you, if it simulates your brain, if it gets to a point where it's like monitoring you, which in itself is kind of creepy, but it monitors you so well, it knows what your response is to the information it's going to give you.
That's funny because I was talking with somebody yesterday about, these weird intersections that we've got in Tucson where you have to go past it and U-turn to make a left. And he was essentially thinking the same thing, that like they're choosing your path for you rather than you just taking the natural way that people drive, and they're saying that it avoids accidents. But now you're adding 2 more intersections to one intersection, so now you've got 3 different spots where you can get an accident versus one.
Yeah. Well, I think
that's why the accident rates are down, because they're not at that intersection. They're a quarter intersection ahead of you now. Yeah. I was like, that kind of makes sense. I never thought about it from that perspective.
Well, it is funny how you can parse it and make it look like it's better or worse based off what you do.
Yeah.
But for you, for specifically, you're what I would say for garbage in. I think that you have struggled to even know when you're in pain. So let's just say like you're putting in your problem,
And
right?
it doesn't feel pain.
It doesn't feel pain if it goes off of whatever you tell it. So your brain is always more like
Performance. Yeah.
You're highly motivated. You're looking to do more. So for you, you're searching still for another exercise. I don't think an exercise is your issue. You don't manage triggers well, and you cause exposure issues all the time.
Which you did tell me, like, create a therapeutic gap, and I was like, yes, I do need to do that.
I do think those things are useful frameworks. That's what like the phases for like our team. We use phases because it gives us a framework to explore the problem. Like, so your problem is not diagnostic. It's not that we don't know what the issue is.
Well, and even in that, it was like maybe you've got a tendon issue here with your sheath or the medial nerve or something like that. Because I was like,
Median.
I'm having the thumb pain. So like it will take you down a weird little rabbit hole, and maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong.
That's useful. It is absolutely useful if it's helping you with the differential. But that's not your issue. Your issue's right. Like, it's not that we've not understood that you've had a nerve issue before.
Right.
It's not that we haven't known that you had a previous fracture and that your extension intolerant at your wrist. Like, those are all just like known factors. The issue is your response at very critical times is always insane.
True.
So knowing that, you put in the information, to me, it's like the way you describe it, you're typically minimizing. I think you minimize what you experience a lot. I just think that's some people are prone to that.
It's one of my traits.
It's one of your traits. Like we were talking about this before, right? The whole idea of somebody comes in and they have pain. You have to figure out what their threshold for experiencing their first level of pain is. Like what would, because we have this all the time where somebody comes in and they'll absolutely be seeming to be in pain, but they don't call it pain, they call it tightness, or they'll call it something else, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. There's actually where you have mechanical damage to the tissue. There's that. And then there's also the tolerance where somebody says, I can't put up with this anymore. Symptoms are way too high. Those are not the same on everybody.
Yeah. And I just don't know when to stop. Like, had I,
Yeah.
at the first inkling of pain during that cable workout stopped, would I have not had this full-on flare-up? I don't know, because I kept going. But it was just, I was having a little bit of pain with like some lateral raises and with some of the different cable movements I was doing. It was supposed to be a light workout, right? It was supposed to be like, we're just going to, go light tonight. You're fatigued from all the other lifts you've had this week.
Yeah.
So like, let's just go light and do your cable workout. But it obviously didn't have the right context, or I didn't give it the right inputs to set me on a correct path.
So I actually would think from a most standpoint, you probably do give it accurate information. From my experience, when clients come in though, who have like a full AI layout where I've had before, I don't like emails, so I don't communicate at almost all via email or text message or any of that type of stuff, right?
I could never get a hold of you, so agreed.
I struggle with that. Clients though will sometimes send over their AI transcript or like their AI chat discussion, right? And sometimes that can be useful because I can see where their brain's at and how like it's hitting it. And it'll also be interesting to see how their description can be accurate,
their prompt as well,
or super wrong.
Yeah.
Right. They'll say things, they'll use terms. For example, I've had before where somebody used terms like electrical, and it wasn't electrical, it was sharp, which is a very different term. And so the route it was telling them, the route they were going down was there was a nerve component. There was absolutely no nerve component.
And it's like, stop sticking your finger in the outlet. Or stick your finger in the outlet. I don't know.
Let's see what happens here. Yeah, it's like let's
verify if it's electrical or not.
Research from 2025 showed that if you stick your finger in an outlet, that'd be a hallucination. Yeah, that's a clear hallucination. But yeah, so we'll see that people, if you have not been trained in some of these terms, you'll use terms that have very specific operational definitions that the AI will absolutely not interpret correctly. It's interpreting the definition correctly. You're giving it information that's not accurate. And that's a garbage in situation. What comes out is obviously not going to be as useful.
Yeah.
Right. But then the other part is, the next one then is, say it gives you good information, then it's executing it.
Which I've been very good at that part, I will say. So I've used it for this wrist injury thing. I've also given it some specific fitness goals and tried to have it build workouts around those fitness goals. And then I had some nutrition goals, and I've used it for tracking. and just kind of some suggestions around all of those things. So I don't know which way we want to go with it, but in terms of building workouts, I think it's at least for my lower body workouts, it's given me some pretty good splits. I think I had mentioned it a couple of podcasts ago that I was just getting really bored with doing the exact same. I think I did the exact same workouts for around 9 months, and had generally been eating the same for that same 9-month period as well. And I've had to kind of do some tweaking, but in terms of the workouts, I've really enjoyed the variability that it's given me, and then kind of like putting in some fatigue level things and some specific goals. At least before this flare up, I was, being able to do some upper lower full body splits. And now I've kind of moved back to mostly lower body just to try and create that therapeutic gap. So that part I have for the most part enjoyed. There have been like little exercises I've never heard of before, and then it will give you descriptions and all of that. So like from a fact-based things that are true from a verification standpoint, those have tended to be pretty accurate for me. And then on the nutrition side of things, it's been very helpful for just tracking. I know there's tons of apps that do that out there specifically, and I've used a couple of those previously with some success. What I've liked most about this is that I just tell it exactly what I'm having. The nutrition information isn't always completely correct, so I sometimes have to enter that incorrectly, but then it'll just give me a daily log, protein, fat, carbs, and I've been tracking fiber as well. Shout out to the one comment from a year ago about me not having enough fiber. Took that to heart and trying to track my fiber as well. But then recent example, I was short like 60 grams of protein or something like that 2 days ago, and it was the evening, and like I didn't have anything I could think of that I could quickly put together to eat. And it was like, do you have egg whites? I was like, yes. It's like, put an egg and some egg whites together, and here's the macros of that, and that'll help you meet your goals for today. And it was just like, fantastic suggestion, thank you. Like I would have never thought of that. I don't eat egg whites very often, but I had them in the house. It met my goals and
crushed it.
I was able to execute it very easily.
So I guess I have a couple opinions on that. I think the first one, no, it was cool. I would say first one, my thoughts would be how long have you done exercise for? Like how long have you been involved in exercise?
Since I was 6 years old.
And so I think that there's things that you'll put in, and you can actually verify that's in some way good information. Right.
Like that's the background knowledge to understand if doing hack squats is helpful or whatever it is.
You not only have you participate in athletics and you have a good sense of your body. And I think that sometimes you have trained yourself to ignore signs, kind of what I was talking about before. But like overall, not only that, like you've been trained, you've competed at elite levels. Even here, you've learned how to do strength training. You had experience before. And you've had constant coaching on it. So when you get information back, you can look at it and go, oh, this is garbage. Oh, this is good. I want to keep this. I can shift this.
And not everybody's going to have that same level of expertise.
Like,
I never thought about it from that perspective.
It's extremely different. So like that's kind of like, that's one of the things, another conversation I was having where what's interesting now is, when you come into a new city, my brain, when I always kind of I'll look at the Google Maps, but like I zoom out and my brain kind of does like a grid of the city. I don't know if you do that, but I immediately like look at the city, and then if I get information to go somewhere and it's wrong, I can instantly tell it's wrong.
Yeah.
I'll follow Google Maps, but I can see and interpret that it's wrong or if it's right. What I have found with information, first off, the AI seems to give an insane amount of information, right? You write a 1-sentence prompt and it gives you 100 times to 200 times more information back. What I have seen is people will struggle to interpret if it's good information or not because it's so much information. And I always think of the things that I have learned the most from have been super, super simplified by somebody, and they've made it so that it's like, oh man, this is like profound. This is like really good. Like they don't need that much information to explain it. So it is kind of interesting how it almost over explains everything that it does. And I think that it can make it very difficult in execution because it's so much information. But if you have an entire background of executing whatever thing you're asking it, well, that's
so much
awesome.
easier.
Oh, it's so much easier. But I think the assuming that, especially how most people are using it, they don't have that background. And so it's very difficult to know if that's actually good information or not.
Right. I will also say that it's kind of put me on like a mini version of 75 hard. I don't know if that's just because I was referencing PYP or other things, but
that's funny.
Yeah, for like a month. At one point, very early in this thread, I think it was referencing like how much my sodium intake is. And it was like, you need to drink at least a gallon of water a day. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then it was like, well, to hit your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure, like you're going to want to have 90 minutes of activity every day. And so I was like, okay, I can do 90 minutes of activity a day. And then
you're going to want to read 10 pages.
Yeah. So maybe it was referencing that just because I had referenced the podcast and some SPC literature in the thread, but just being our 75th episode, I thought it'd be
that's killer.
Fun to just mention that. But yeah, like I think it had seen that like I was eating a lot of sodium, and it's like the water's going to help you flush the sodium out. And so I was like, give me some research to back that. They gave me some research. So I was like, no, there's actually some good benefits that would help meet your goals if you drink more water. And I was like, it took that for me to drink more water, but okay,
now I'm doing this,
I'll do it. And I've executed since.
Yeah. So I think the execution piece, if you had previous experience, it matters. And I think that is undervalued, but it's kind of like the software programmers I think are going to probably crush using like Codex and Claude and all these other different tools. They're going to do well because they have previous experience. I am concerned because I've had some interaction with PT students, well, quite a bit. And it's interesting to see how they're using not just PT students, but like we'll get health and wellness students and stuff as well. And you can tell that it's handicapping them because they're losing the ability to think through it. Yeah. Because there's nuance, there's complexity, there's no clear answers. Like we operate in gray all the time, and you should never feel 100% certain about any of the things that you're doing. Like you should be evaluating constantly. But what I'll see is instead of making it clear, this is what I'm thinking, let me test it and see if I'm accurate. They struggle to do that. And I think that's a natural thing as you're learning to operate. But then when you throw on top of that a tool that acts very certain and then has references and all of a sudden makes it research based, I see a lot of people throwing out their ability to think. And so people who've already developed that ability to critically appraise information, and also have a deep well of execution experience, I think it makes AI unbelievably useful personally. But my concern would be that you're using it to replace your own thinking. And so now you're handicapping yourself, which we were talking about this before. I never do first drafts of anything, even second or third drafts inside AI, because I think it immediately is no longer your thinking. I don't see how you can operate within the AI system without it completely ruining your original line of thought.
Yeah, I've used it for suggestions, like I said, for exercises, for, different food things. I do think on the macros tracking, I've really enjoyed it rather than trying to log the food in the app.
I mean, that's amazing.
Just telling it what I've had, it then usually estimates. One issue I've had is I think it's just because I don't have the paid version, is the memory is not very long. So I have to keep reminding it nope, when I make this meal, this is what's on the package essentially. So that seems to recycle on a weekly basis. I'm sure if I went with some paid version, that would be better. But I've had it suggest supplements, which I then have it back with research, and I've added vitamin D and a vitamin C supplement to go with collagen, because there is some research showing that collagen needs vitamin C to work. Whether collagen works or not, I think is still very much debated, but it's one of those things that I've got joint problems. I want my knees to feel good. If it helps at even 5%, great. I do feel like my hair is thicker as well. Maybe that's a collagen, maybe not.
That's awesome. I will use, have you ever heard of Notebook LM? So it's a useful one where it pulls it from the sources that you put in there. So I'll do that often if I'm trying to build, when I'm thinking through a thought process and I really want to have it evidence-based. I also want to include my own writing, my own thinking. You can use that and you basically close off the sources that the AI system is using. I find that one to be really useful because it can expose areas of thinking and issues that you have. I like tools like that. I really think it's interesting though. If you have a deep experience, I think the AI is way more useful versus it's not. Because even when you're talking about the food stuff, I know that you've had experience with several different things. So you're once again not coming from it from a novice standpoint. You're coming from a very experienced standpoint. And then the final thing that you literally just said, you're verifying that it works. And I think that's the other thing that I've seen is people will just go, boom, let's do it. Let's go. And then they don't have any ways of knowing or checking, is this working the way I thought it would work? And that I think those are the parts where I just find it's, I think it's fun when people come in and they'll tell me some of the things that they've done based off of it. And it's like, well, did it work? Like, no. Did you keep doing it? Yes. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I'm cool with that. That doesn't bother me. Like, we may make some adjustments though.
And we talked about one of those this morning, right? That I'm kind of still working through. So it had told me that for every pound of body fat you lose, you can gain up to a half an inch of vertical.
I didn't think that was I questioned to see if that was true.
And we had a hard time verifying that outside of, because it couldn't really provide me any literature other than anecdotal.
There is no literature that
we could find at least, right? In a pretty quick search this morning, but we couldn't find it. That said, I'm about 3 weeks in and had one of my highest jumps ever yesterday. So,
I mean, logically it makes sense, right? You reduce the load, you produce the same level of force, you're going to jump higher. I get that. I think sometimes what happens though, obviously echo chambers, especially around specific performance things, can make that happen. Like,
your eyes get super wide. Like, oh yeah, I want to do this.
I'm going to do that.
That's ultimately my goal right now is just to see where that will take me. If I hit the metrics that I'm looking to hit in the next month or two, will I see this performance gain? Maybe not, but I'm at an area where I can test it and verify and see if it works. So
once again, it's you working on your vertical is not new either. It's been something that you've done for 2 decades, right? So that it's like you're able to see a difference and a change that is pretty nuanced that I think can be difficult if somebody's not been at the levels of activity that you've been before. So I think it's just being aware of what is your previous experience and the information it's giving you. If you can't, like, for example, I used it to help me do some work on our AC unit, right? I'm like taking pictures and stuff. And it's like, there's one part where it's like, oh, that insulation does not look good. And I would not have pointed. I was like, well, it is just only kind of falling off the pipe. I was like, maybe as my people who worked on it last, they were just bored and they just didn't put the sun like melted it off the refrigerant line. Okay, so cool. I'm probably gonna do. I did some work on it, but at no point am I confident in any of it, right?
Because you have no prior experience.
So I'm doing this now, but I'm absolutely gonna have a professional come back and like double check the work because I don't want to burn my house down. And I don't know how I would burn my house down, but that's like the whole point is I have no idea. And I'm not gonna become like those guys are technically trained, they're professionals, they have an expertise in it. I'm not gonna get there. I'm not gonna get that information from the AI like at any point. Like I'm not gonna become that level of expert, and I'm totally comfortable with it. It's a good thing for me to understand that.
And from experience, like people can get blown up from AC units.
Is that true?
I've seen it. I have been standing next to a technician working on one of the buildings I manage and touched the capacitor and boom, he went flying. Like that thing popped. He was electrocuted. I was freaking out. I was like, do I touch him? Do I not touch him? Like,
you just
maybe
left him
if I
there?
had- well, I was like,
Did you AI? You took a photo
Yeah.
of him? So you just touched
Yeah.
the capacitor.
This-
You're like
this-
putting this in.
yeah,
Take
this
a
is-
photo. Yeah. He's.
Oh,
you're
God.
like they're like just give him a video.
yeah.
This person does not appear like they're breathing. Confirm.
Yeah. He's burned all over his body. Should I touch him? Should I not touch him? It's
What
like,
should I do now?
yeah.
Call
It's like,
911.
don't call 911. Just pick him up. Pour some water on him.
Yeah.
Get him a Band-Aid.
He starts giving you like craziest suggestions. Force water down his throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start an IV. Like, what? I'll walk you through it.
Like, it's like just, oh, that's amazing. What did happen? Is that person alive?
Yeah. It was a quick,
Pop,
I
the
think,
backup.
240 volts or something like that. And he was like, oh, man, that one got me. I'm like,
It's like an extra cup of
okay.
coffee.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely careful while working on the AC units now. But
I love it.
I don't know what else to dive into on this
Well,
one.
I think the last part, just to kind of revamp, I think there's a difference if it's AI slop that you're getting from somebody who's cultivating the response from an AI. I think that's important to know.
or just looking for views online.
I think that's the
there's
biggest
a
piece.
lot of that going on right now. And I think there are some people, like, if you were to create things using your knowledge with AI, like, I would obviously have a high degree of confidence in what was going out there, because I would feel that you would be reviewing and verifying and helping people execute things that are clinically correct, at least from your background, education, and expertise, as where so many other people are just out there creating, these are the foods you should eat to get swole. And it's like, protein popcorn and protein pancakes.
Have you tried
And,
that?
I mean, I've had protein pancakes and they're actually pretty good, but like comparatively to just eating a chicken breast, right? Like,
But sometimes, like, it's gonna be funny when that starts to, like, what's the next thing after protein popcorn? Like, I feel like you've hit the end of
Skittles.
civilization.
Like, yeah.
That's true.
right?
Now that you say
It's
that,
like you can just eat Sour Patch Kids with protein all day and you're going to get super fit. Like, okay, well, they've got 900 grams of sugar as well
Yeah.
to make it palatable.
and only 90% of people does it give cancer. So like that's the nice part. We're definitely gonna get. But I did try the protein popcorn. It was awesome.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Which, once again, those things are great, but in terms of, this is not a nutrition episode, it's an AI episode, but like I have told mine, like, I'd like to prioritize real foods.
Oh yeah, you can put like the limits in as a portion of your
Yeah.
prompt.
So it's only going to be as good as the information that you put into your kind of garbage in,
Yeah.
garbage out standpoint.
Yeah, and then executing, recognize what you've known before, verify if you can. If you don't even know how to verify, that's a sign that you might want some level of support. But then the other part that I think that we didn't really hit is that, especially when it comes to your body, it's a moving target. So the information that you've got at one point may need to be updated. So it's kind of similar to when people come in and they're trying an exercise because it worked for a friend. Well, it may not work for you. Like, there's specific things that can be different that make it useful for that person, but not useful for you. Well, 3 weeks later, after you've irritated your wrist, we're not dealing with the same wrist that we were dealing with when you had the flare up. So there can be a nuance and a change to what you need to be doing. So falling back to a thing that you got from the AI and then thinking the AI was wrong, it's like, well, it's not the same anymore. So it can move. Your body does adapt. There are changes. So those are things just to recognize that information that you gave 2 weeks ago may not be accurate today.
Yeah. I think I've liked probably 80% of what it's given me.
I think it's
and
impressive.
thought that it's been helpful. I got the V-bar cable pull down is probably my new favorite upper body exercise.
The V-bar cable pull down.
Yeah.
You heard it here.
I had never even knew that was a thing before, but
What did you think the V-bar was? Was it?
no, I thought it was just for like rows.
Got
Yeah. So, and that one, same thing. It was like, keep your wrist in a neutral position. It's like, that makes sense. It hits a lot of upper body. It's not a true compound exercise, but it hits quite a few different muscles. So yeah, I've definitely gotten some good things out of it, but also I hadn't thought about my background knowledge of being able to verify those things. So
That's dramatic.
yeah, I've got a much different lens on it than, somebody that's a complete novice with really any topic, like you and your AC units.
I know. Well, it's like the curse of knowledge for experts, right?
Yeah.
And I think that some people don't realize that how deeply they know certain topics.
Yeah.
And that's a big one to consider.
So don't be too heavily influenced by the AI. Definitely verify. And I guess kind of in closing, do you feel obsolete because of the AI?
No, I think
I would agree.
I'm kind of excited to see where it ends up going. I think that they're going to come out with the tools that are going to be more specific to and niched to specific practice patterns. But what I'm really excited about is I think that where it's moving, and even one of the ways that we're building here, is you can create a closed environment of information that you verify, and then you can reference later. If you like the Notebook LM thing, it's a fascinating tool, and I think that's where I believe AI is going to go. I don't think you're going to have these like general intelligences. I think it's going to be niched to your specific practice and the information that you put in. That's where I hope it goes. That's how I would love it if every person here had it as a reference tool, not to replace your thinking, but a support system for it.
I had even told mine, like, why are you not keeping track of things long term? And it's like, you're not paying for me, so I can only keep track for so long. And I was like, fair enough. But then it was like, I can give you a weekly download that you throw into a separate notebook, and I'll keep track of it all there. And I was like,
boom.
Okay, well, I guess that makes sense. Like, thanks for solving your own problem and making me not pay for you.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting where that goes. And is the current cost of it actually the actual cost? So we'll see if it's
just costing the world all of its water.
Yeah. We have a lot. It's like 70%, right? The earth is in water.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, well, can AI run off salt water?
Eventually that'll figure it out.
We'll ask it.
We'll put I think they're going to start putting the big data centers or whatever in space. So then it's problem solved.
Thanks, Elon.
Yeah. That's all we need.
All right. Anything else to hit today?
No, that's it.
Cool. All righty. Well, if you like this one, drop a comment and we'll see you on the next one.
PYP, baby.
Peace.
If you are enjoying this podcast and finding the information useful, please consider supporting us by following the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
By subscribing, you help ensure we can continue bringing you this high-level training in rehab science every single week. Leaving us a 5-star review on those platforms is also one of the absolute best, zero-cost ways to support our mission and help grow this community. Our podcast is proudly sponsored and brought to you by Smith Performance Center. If you are an active adult looking to bridge the gap between rehab and elite performance, or if you want to optimize your health from every angle, go to smithperformancecenter.com. They offer elite physical therapy, strength and sports training, and dedicated nutrition coaching to help you build a resilient body that handles the activities you love without breaking down.
If you want to connect with us, see our training clips, or watch the full video versions of these episodes, follow us on Instagram at Spiker Keicher, Craig Smith PT, and Past Your Prime Podcast. And subscribe to the Past Your Prime Podcast on YouTube.
Thanks for tuning in, and remember, you're not past your prime, you're just getting started.
PYP, baby.
Peace.